Branding is a component of marketing.
Branding is a component of marketing. Okay.
So it could be the aesthetics and the performance, because that's the promise, right? That could be your branding. Aesthetics and the performance of the vehicle. So let's call it a vehicle. The vehicle is marketing. The branding is the aesthetics and the performance. The aesthetics is the logo, and the performance is the promise, right? And then you go into advertising. Advertising and promotion is where you get the brand out there. Now, if you take a marketer and say, I've got this, just take it out there. It's like taking wheels of a car without all of the other components and trying to travel, just with wheels.
His name is Ditshego and is CEO of Ditshego Media. He's a PR specialist, a graduate. He loves education. He loves reading. He's a leader and he's got a lot of accolades. Guys, I can go on and on. Okay, let me read some of them. So just to get to give you guys a bit of an idea. President of South African Graduates Business Network, Counselor in Marketing and Advertising Communications, Charter Council, which was appointed by the Minister in Presidency to transform the MAC sector. He's a member of the Academy Advisory Committee at the Tshwane University of Technical's Department of Strategic Communication. Group CEO of Ditshego Investment Group. And he is a really, really smart dresser. And every time when I talk to him, and I'm like, yo, let's meet, bro, or let's have a chat. He tells me about his swag. He tells me about going to the salon. He tells me about looking nice. How you doing, bro?
Good to see you, man. You're looking good. Love the look, man. Yeah, it looks good.
You're looking fresh, bro.
Thank you, my man.
You're smelling good as usual.
Yeah, we learn from the best.
Thank you. Thank you. Please throw a chair. Can I just have one water there? One water there. Just throw it. Just throw it. It's fine. And then I just want to remove. Oh, okay. You've got the memo. So you remove the sleeves.
No, nothing for free.
I learned from the best.
Nothing from Mahala.
I learned from the best. What does this mean for those who don't know?
Well, basically, it's unbranded, and therefore, maybe we can even start there.
Let's start there. What is a brand?
Yeah. So a brand, a lot of people think it's a logo. A brand is not a logo. A brand is a promise of a particular quality of product or service represented by a sign or a symbol. So that's like a process, right? Similar to strategy. Strategy, it's not just a plan, you know? So a brand is a promise. How do you build a strong brand? Well, you make a compelling promise and then you keep the promise consistently, more often than not. When it's, you know, those times when you break the promise, you know, it wasn't your intention, but something happened and you made a mistake. We all make mistakes. You take accountability for the mistakes that you've made. A weak brand is one where you make a compelling promise and then you don't keep it. And so it goes into your credibility. So the crux of what you're trying to develop as a brand is trust, credibility, great customer experience, and great value.
So it's basically a promise that you have to keep and be consistent at it.
Absolutely. That's a brand. And at academics in the marketing sphere, we all agree, you know, in terms of what is a brand. It's not so some people say we are rebranding and then they go and change the logo. That's not rebranding. Your brand is within. It's about the character of your organization. Do you stand true to your promises, to your values?
Values, principles.
And a lot of organizations do, and some of them they don't. And my late father, Mr. Sam Ditshego,
may so rest in peace, yeah.
And he used to say that your promises and your actions are inextricably intertwined to your reputation. He was a thought leader. He used to write articles in different media platforms across the world. And he captured it so profoundly, you know, why it's important for you to keep your promises.
what makes, okay, maybe let me put it this way. Starting with some local examples that some of the audiences maybe can identify with or relate with. Top 10, let's say top 10 or however many come to your mind, South African brands. And what sets them apart from the rest?
So brand differentiation is very interesting. What you want to do when you're building a brand is that you want to have a compelling argument that is grounded on innovation. What is innovation grounded on? Continuously improving. So you're not the same person or brand that you were yesterday. You keep innovating and learning as you go, and you never lose the appetite to impress. And so what's going to distinguish you from other people is how you do things within their industry in a different way. But that different way needs to add more value than the competition, which is very difficult. You know, in South Africa, you'll be surprised. I mean, in South Korea, Samsung on its own, it's a South Korean company. In 2017, they spent over 200 billion in rands on research and development, Samsung alone.
20 billion.
200 billion.
200.
Now, our Department of Basic Education.
That's about $10 billion, right?
$10 billion. Our Department of Basic Education spends around that amount on educating basic education in its entirety. Now, that's Samsung alone. Now, South Africa as a country does not go past 30 billion rands in research and development. So we're being beaten by one company as a country. And so we need to take research and development very seriously because innovation comes from research and development.
So let's start with that biggest brand that we can talk about right now. In 2024, what do you think when I say brand South Africa?
So brand South Africa is very complex.
In 2024.
In 2024.
Not Kanda Gotsa 1994, Tabun Tate Mandela, may so rest in peace.
Yeah.
In 2024, right now, what comes to your mind? And give me your analogy of the brand South Africa.
So now you can't divorce what happened in 1994 to what is currently happening in 2024. There are countries and many people around the world who still see us as a beacon of hope for transformation and bridging racial divides. And also dismantling discrimination in its entirety, but also the grace of forgiveness, but which comes with accountability and justice, which is something that you cannot run away from. There obviously can't be a blanket forgiveness without atonement. And now we're working towards that, right? Now, South Africa has a very complex brand. That is a part of it. You do have a lot of the challenges, load shedding, crime, unemployment, youth unemployment. It is a part of our brand. Now, if we go back to what a brand is not just what you say. So a lot of people look at marketing and they say, no, get my name out there. That's not what branding is all about. It's also about your actions. Or we do this, can't you do the opposite? It actually ruins your brand. And so what people think about South Africa is that South Africa has a lot of potential. It has a lot of challenges. It's a beautiful country. But I think it's more positive than negative. But now we are going towards a situation where we might lose that balance.
You think so?
Absolutely. So if you look at, let's just look at, for example, just our landscape, wildlife, our heritage landscape, the history of our country. You go to Soweto, you go to many places across the country. We've got a lot of tourist attractions. We have a lot of foreigners who want to come into our country and do business. Some of the things that are affecting us, I mean, I just did my MBA at Gibbs Business School. I got a distinction in macroeconomics.
Congratulations, bro.
And
well done. I remember when you were talking about wanting to do the MBA. We'll talk about it later, yeah?
Yeah. And a part of macroeconomics.
How do you know if somebody has got an MBA? Anybody?
They say it. Because everybody's got an MBA. Sure. Everybody wants to brag that they've got an MBA. I'm not.
I didn't say you were bragging. I was just asking. Yeah.
I'm bragging, bro.
No, but you mustn't. but you mustn't be afraid to.
Absolutely.
Because it's an academic achievement. Yeah.
And it's a fact.
It says a lot about the type of person you are. Yeah.
And if you look at the policies, for example, it's very difficult for foreigners who are looking to invest in the country to access the country. If you look at the visa regime, it's very difficult. And that is a low-hanging fruit that if we resolve it, a lot of billions are going to come into our country. You go to United Arab Emirates. It's one of the countries that I studied for as a part of my research. 89% of the citizens of UAE are expats. So they come from foreign countries. 89%. They don't pay income tax in UAE.
Sure.
0% income tax. The corporate tax is very low. And so just those low-hanging fruits, it's easy to visit the UAE. Those low-hanging fruits. And there's a lot of investment that is available, to be provided. I mean, I just met someone recently who said in the marketing space, he's now providing funding for people who are trying to place advertisements in the various media space, and that comes from the UAE. And so the investment is flowing in to the UAE. Some people ask, so how do they run the country if they're not, paying that much tax? Well, they've got resources, and the government owns the resources, and they use the revenue from the resources wisely. You go to Finland, the same situation. They don't have a complex economy, such as that in South Korea or Japan. Japan is the most complex economy in the world, and we'll get to that. Being complex is a part of the solution in terms of how we are going to change our country. It's exactly what you have done, by the way. And I'll give you your props for more fire. The other day I was buying some groceries and I saw someone buy it. I'm like, I'm so proud of Zbu.
Thank you, bro.
But this is a part of complexity. Now, what is the difference between a non-complex product and a product that is complex? It's very simple. We've got trees here. If there were apples on these trees, you just pick the apple, put them in a plastic and you sell it. That's not complex. But as soon as you make apple juice, that's complex. Why is that? You're going to need machinery. The machinery needs to be run by people. You're going to need also people who are doing the formula. Those are people, those are jobs that you're creating.
And maybe because the people are watching us, I'd like for you to maybe sit this side so that people can see your face.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm
There you go.
I got some people sending me some WhatsApp. So, hey, I like that good looking brother.
They want to see.
So I want you to sit this side.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So now, you then have to create the juice, put it in a carton. You have to transport it. The carton is going to be made by another company. The transportation is a logistics company. Now you look at the value chain of a complex product, Jakamofaya. We should be pumping billions into our manufacturing brands so that they can become more complex. You should be spending a lot of money every year to ensure that you're doing the research and development necessary for you to become Pan-African and globalist, which is what you're going to do, whether you get the investment or not. But that can be fast-tracked. So there are people doing great work in South Africa, but do we understand what it takes to build an economy? So we then have to create special economic zones. That is what productive countries do. So you'll find Kagiso, different firms that do textile and all of those things. You'll find in Tembisa, that do beverages and all of those things. You create special economic zones. And then in those zones, you provide the funding necessary do research and development and build the products for the 21st century that are going to compete. And then we need to understand our economy, So then we all of those things, if we could have done those things, our reputation would be through the roof. We would be those countries that you're looking at as the next global powers.
Brand Nelson Mandela. May that soul rest in peace. What comes to your mind in 2024?
I like that. I'm going to have to drink some water before I get into it because I've got a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, same here. And it's interesting because when you speak about time, generations grow and they evolve and new generations come.
Yeah.
Right? And you said a brand has to keep its promise repetitively, consistently for the longest of time.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela, the brand.
Now, I read The Long Walk to Freedom. So it's very important that we read books. You must make sure that in every month, you must read a book. If it's not a book, it has to be a research paper. But you must get the knowledge in your mind because a lot of people who make commentary about Utata Nelson Mandela have never read any of his books. There's a story about Utata Nelson Mandela that a lot of people don't know. Go Alexandra, he He used to stay in Alexandria when he came from the Eastern Cape. And then there's a Jewish gentleman in Joburg CBD who hired him to work for the law company, which was a partnership. Utata Nelson Mandela got a suit from this Jewish gentleman. And he would wear that suit. He wore that suit every day to work.
Every day.
Now, he would walk to work and back every day. Alex to Joburg CBD, back to Alex. He wore that suit until there were more holes in the suit than there was suit. That is the mentality of Utata Nelson Mandela. Those are the stories that should inspire us to be perseverant, that should inspire us to never let anything get into the way of our progress. And his story is one of determination, being in prison for more than 20 years. That is not a joke. Some people will not last a week in prison without a scar. He went years for our freedom in prison. And then he came out and he was graceful enough to say, I see what has happened in the past. We must get justice for that. But we will not get justice through genocide. And we're not going to build a nation of the future by destroying the people who are part of our country. They are a part of our country. So we're going to move forward together. But we must all agree that there's going to be rules and regulations that ensure that we correct the injustices of the past. And nobody should disagree with that. It's a part of our constitution. That's a part of being South African, is to be committed to addressing past injustices. If you are not committed, you are a traitor to this country.
And let's get into the brand in 2024 and how a young person who's 16 or who's 21 looks at the brand Nelson Mandela.
So we can look at him in the complex ways that we look at him, because if you look at the South Africa of today, it's not what we envisioned in 1994. We must admit that. And we need to move towards the service of the people. So I believe that he believed in servant leadership. He believed that he needs to be a man of the people, which is why he only served one term as president. The power of the presidency never got to his head. He did one term and he left on a continent where that was not usual at the time. And then you had other presidents who did the same thing. When their time was up, they left. They didn't hold on to power. So a part of it is respecting the will of the people. That's a part of ensuring that his legacy lives on. The other part is to make decisions beyond the self, towards the collective, towards the future. That's a part of his legacy, as Utata Nelson Mandela. He once said that you can tell the soul of a nation by how it treats its children. We can tell the soul of our country by how we treat our youth. And we don't treat our youth by saying you are special. We treat our youth with dignity by ensuring that they can realize their potential. That's a part of his legacy. And so for young people, I would say, go read his books. Go get, I see a lot of people, they comment a lot on social media, and we welcome that. I think it's very important for people to be vibrant and to speak their minds on social media and to be a part of the discourse. However, I think people must move towards being more informed on the topics that they discuss. Go and read about the things that you're going to discuss before you open your mouths about them. I hear a lot of people talking about business and they criticize people's businesses, but they don't know what it takes to build a business. They don't know the difference. Some people don't even know the difference between revenue and profit. And then they want to tell you how you're supposed to move around this revenue and profit. And so study economics, study history, study different economies. A part of his legacy should be that you should invest in your education. He spoke about the importance of investing in education. And I think that's a part of the legacy that young people should look into and up to.
Brand Nando's.
Yeah.
Because we're talking South African brands now.
Yeah. So Brand Nando's is a very interesting one. Do you know that their head office, if I'm not mistaken, is still in Hillbrow?
Terfontein. I don't know now, but I know it started in Terfontein.
So they had an office in Hillbrow, right? And for the longest time, they were based there. Why were they based there? Because they wanted to be with the people. And so they were based there there was a longest time where there was a department of Nando's that was based right there in Hillbrow because they wanted the vibe of the people. They wanted to be connected to the people. So that's branding, right? So when you speak about a brand, you must tap into the soul of a country. So you cannot divorce brand from culture. And as an artist, as a musician, as an artist, as a record company executive and a businessman in the record space, you understand artistry and how culture links with art. And to a certain degree, it's an enigma because even scientifically and academically, it's difficult to explain the rhythm of a nation. It's very difficult. We can get into that, but it's very difficult to understand how did reggae come about? How did Mapiano and Kwaito come about? It's difficult to understand that. But it comes from the beat of our heritage. And so Nando's as a brand was always connected to the people. And that is why they're able to make, products and advertisements that connect to people. So they understand what people are talking about, the pulse of the nation. And so once you beat with the pulse of the nation, you will never dance off rhythm.
Kaiser Chiefs.
Wow. Now, Kaiser Chiefs is arguably the biggest football brand in the country. And they came through Kaiser Motaung, who played for Orlando Pirates. And he created...
Interesting that when you get to Kaiser Chiefs, you say football brand.
Yeah.
But the other brands that I spoke about, you didn't say political brand. You didn't say, you're just looking at them as brands.
Yeah.
And I want you to look at it as a brand, Kaiser Chiefs. So we know that it's in football, yeah.
So as a brand, Kaiser Chiefs is celebrated primarily across the townships and rural areas of South Africa. As we have gone up in terms of economic mobility, they are now celebrated across the country, urban areas all over the show.
Even outside of the country, right? Some African countries, no? Yeah.
So they promised to rebel against what was the status quo, which was the dominance of Orlando Pirates and Morocco Swallows, which is why a lot of young people gravitate towards Kaiser Chiefs. Now, why I say that is because being rebellious is something that connects to young people. How does it connect to young people? When you are young, especially to young boys, when you are young, the first thing that you want to do is to move out of the care of your mother. Then you separate yourself from your family. Then you separate yourself from your mentors. Why? Because your identity is based on autonomy and independence. So when Kaiser Motaung broke away from Orlando Pirates, he formed Kaiser Chiefs. It was that rebellious to say, we are going to start something and go against the status quo. It's a part of the brand of Kaiser Chiefs. But also, amazing football. You should listen to how Joe Mosono speaks about Ace Ntsoelengoe. He says that he plays as if he is the conductor of an orchestra. He controls the tempo of the game. Joe Mosono is one of the greatest football players of all time, speaking about someone he watched playing together. And so the brilliant football, the township, flavor that you find in the Kaiser Chiefs football is a part of the brand that has built them. But they are known as similar to the sponsor that they had, which was Iwiza, as the #1 football brand. And that is what they promised to do. And so they need to keep that promise by investing in sports development and doing a little bit better than they're doing now.
I loved it in the beginning when you said arguably. Let's get into brand Soweto.
Wow. So brand Soweto is very complex. I think June 16, 1976 was a day that put brand Soweto on the map to a certain degree. Southwestern townships. As your former artist said, Southwestern townships where we get down, kid. So Soweto is where African people came together. Whether Omuzulu, Umutsonga, Omuvenda, Omupedi, Umutswana, Omusoto, we came together in Soweto and became one. It's a part of our heritage and a part of our history. It's also that history that says we strive for justice. That's why June 16, 1976, with the likes of Tsietsi Mashinini, came from Soweto. You see a lot of political parties are launching in Soweto. Why? Because Soweto is a place that also stands for justice. And so a lot of, you remember, I mean, when you were trying to get into the industry, and Ntando's from Kagiso, when he was trying to get in the industry, the coolest people were from Soweto. And you had to try to put Tembisa on the map, which it's on the map. And Kagiso now, Mafikizolo and Untando, it's now on the map, and myself. It's now on the map.
Oh, you're from Kagiso?
I'm from Kagiso.
I didn't know.
No, I'm from Kagiso.
Oh, that's dope, bro. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a part of, it was inspiring other townships to do better, you know. So Firetown, I think, was more vibrant before all of these other places. No, and it spread to other townships. But I think Soweto is the modern day Firetown.
Brand Shaka Zulu.
Wow. Isilo Shaka Zulu. So it's not Inkos, it's Isilo Shaka Zulu, who was raised by Bomtetwa Dingswayo Nyambos. He's from the clan, which was dominant at that time, was Abomtetwa. And so I think he stood for the unity of the African people. I think that is what he was trying to achieve. It couldn't be done diplomatically. We have to assume that it couldn't be done diplomatically. And so he tried to do it a little bit forcefully. But I think what you will know about Ushaka Zulu, if you look at people's childhood, it has a lot to do with their adulthood. There's a very strong connection between how your childhood was and how your adulthood becomes. And so if there's a lot of chaos and a lot of heartache and pain in your childhood, sometimes, even after you've succeeded, it manifests after that. So there was a few mistakes and there's some things that he was criticized for. But one thing he has succeeded in doing is to be the founder of the Zulu nation. It wasn't as big as it was at his time, you know. So I think he stood for the unity of African people. And to a certain degree, he's succeeded.
Because he would conquer other smaller nations and swallow them into the Zulu nation.
Yeah.
And as others, they would say, Abo Mzilikazi fled and started their other nations. Yeah. I think Mzilikazi went to Rhodesia, right?
Yes,
which is now Zimbabwe and others, etc. But he would conquer, swallow them, and just form this big
empire. Zulu
tribe or empire, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Why am I bringing these names? Because these are synonymous with the South African culture, with anyone who comes from South Africa. So you're saying to me, a brand can be an individual human being. It can also be a company, can also be a product.
Yes. So there's a debate. Can a person be a brand? When you're
I'm a brand, guys. I'm a brand. Please, I treat myself like I'm a brand.
I'm not coming to that podcast. It's not good for my brand.
It's not good for my brand. Oh no, I don't want to hold more fights. It's not good for my brand.
It happens when people become pompous, and it's we should get into social media where we talk about also how it's been over commercialized. We don't do each other favors anymore. You know, you won't post somebody's energy drink because you must pay me to do that. We must talk about that. But let's go into this one. So an individual can be a brand, but people mustn't. I think the problem in South Africa is that they forget that an individual is human. You have good days and bad days. You're not always in a good mood. You're not always in the mood to be charismatic and fun. Sometimes you just want to keep to yourself. And you make mistakes because you don't know everything. Neither do you have the capacity to know half of what there is. Your capacity is very limited in terms of what you can know. And so you're not Mr. Know-it-all. You don't know it all. And so what you do, you do things based on the fact that this is what I believe is the best thing to do based on the information that I have at the time. Your experiences are going to teach you whether or not it was a good or a bad decision. But it doesn't mean because you made a bad decision, you're a bad person. And so people need to relax a little bit in terms of how they critique individual brands. I feel sorry for to a certain degree, I have sympathy for the current young people in South Africa, the current generation of youth, because they're growing up in the public eye. And unfortunately, a lot of the decision makers are not so forgiving to the mistakes that you make in the public eye. And they'll take that mistake that you make and they'll use it against you.
Because the internet doesn't forget, right?
Because the internet doesn't forget, and people over-analyze what is written on the internet. And they underestimate how much you can be mentored, how much you can improve your behavior. That's why we did social media masterclasses since 2017. We've been doing them across the country. Young people flock and they pack up the venue, and they're there for 6 hours where we're doing lectures on how to build your brand on social media, how to conduct yourself professionally on social media. Because a lot of the young people, of course, their parents are not on social media, so they don't have the mentorship.
We must collaborate and do more of those this year.
Let's do that.
Sure.
Absolutely. 2024 is the year.
Yeah.
Now, we've done a lot of work. We've done a lot of mentorship. I think we're going to be more pointed in 2024 in terms of, we're going to be deliberate in terms of what we're going to do. And I'd love you to also talk about building this brand of More Fire. So now, I think as an individual brand, you got to relax. Be yourself. You know, don't be scared to make mistakes. If we're scared to take risks, then how are you going to succeed? Because for you to succeed, you must take a risk. Just driving here is a risk. I can get into any kind of a situation. Who knows? Hit a pothole and then your tire's gone. You could have just parked it and then it wouldn't have been a risk. But we must encourage people to take risks. And we must encourage people not to be afraid of failure. And when people have failed, we must say, well done. Now teach us what went wrong here, because you can learn more from failure than you can learn from success. So when analyzing an individual brand, what I'm saying is that we have to be graceful and forgiving. We have to also be understanding. If the limelight was in your face, would you be able to handle half of the pressure that these kids are handling today? You know, so we must look at individual brands as teachable brands, as brands that are evolving. They're not static, and they're agile because they're individual. Unlike a big brand where you have to transform the whole board of directors for you to see a change in behavior. But an individual brand, you can call the guy to the side and tell them that, you know, this is what we need to do.
I like that when Malema, Honorable Malema said in one of the interviews, I think it was with an interviewer, a journalist from BBC, where he says, you can't judge me from the mistakes that I did when I was young. That was like over 15 years ago.
Absolutely.
I've evolved, I've grown. I'm now married. I'm a leader of the third biggest political party in the country. I've grown.
People grow, people change. I think, number one, we shouldn't be judging people based on their skin color. Judge people based on their individual characteristics. Give people an opportunity. Number two, don't judge people based on their gender, their age, their height, their tribe. I don't even believe we had tribes. I think we had nations. But wherever background that you come from, that does not define who you are. But the third thing, do not judge people based on what they did simply in the past as if they cannot improve, as if they cannot learn and be better. What is the point of living if you are going to be perfect from the day you are born? What is the point of learning? We should know everything from the beginning. We should be learning beings that are graceful, that are kind to each other and understanding. But also, let's stop being hypocritical, as if we never made mistakes.
What's the difference between branding and marketing? And what's the relationship?
I love that. Brilliant question. So people mistaken promotion, advertising with marketing, right? And so if you want to differentiate marketing and branding, you need to look at it as components. So marketing is where all the components come together, okay? And how they come together is highly misunderstood, and I want us to have that conversation. Branding is a component of marketing.
Branding is a component of marketing. Okay?
So it could be the aesthetics and the performance, because that's the promise, right? That could be your branding. Aesthetics and the performance of the vehicle. So let's call it a vehicle. The vehicle is marketing. The branding is the aesthetics and the performance. The aesthetics is the logo, and the performance is the promise, right? And then you go into advertising. Advertising and promotion is where you get the brand out there. Now, if you take a marketer and say, I've got this, just take it out there. It's like taking wheels of a car without all of the other components and trying to travel, just with wheels. Yes, they can hold the car and help the car on the journey, but it's not the car. The branding and the advertising is not the car. There are many other components to getting you to your destination. The one component that is not understood is the strategic component. So before the car is built, we need to understand, why are we building the car? What challenge are we trying to resolve? How are we going to resolve the challenge? Who are our competitors? And how are we going to enter the market in a way that we differentiate ourselves from the competitors? So the difference between a brand and marketing is the same as the difference between the performance of the car and the holistic car. The holistic car is marketing. So what is marketing? Marketing is all about developing strategic relationships and cultivating demand. But you don't just cultivate demand based on a product that is not viable in the market. And so bring marketers in product development so that you can strategize what product will appeal to the market. That's where you bring a marketer in strategically. I hope we're going to talk about what is a strategy, because that's very important too. It's actually one of the most important things that you'll ever learn. A strategy is a process. So the strategy would be the business case for the car. So why are you developing this car? What problem are you solving? And how are you going to solve that problem? And what resources is it going to take to solve the problem? And when are you going to deploy those resources? If you don't have any of those, you don't have a strategy. So a strategy starts with accurately defining the problem, accurately defining your challenges, or accurately defining the objectives. That's where it starts. Then you must then get insights as to what led to these challenges and how do you resolve these challenges. So that is where the product development is going to come in. So you might say that in this country we don't have a single energy drink that is South African. That's a challenge. And so what is going to be the strategy for us to enter into the market? And there's various ways that you could have done it. You could have done a partnership. You could have went overseas and then came back into the country. You could have went different ways, started in the townships. You could have done business to business, which you're probably doing all of those. And then your customer is the business, and the business then sends it directly to the customer. But you are doing B2C, business to customer, right? So that is your strategy. It's a part of your strategy. But a strategy starts with accurately defining the challenge, the problems, or the objectives, accurately defining what are the insights in terms of what led to the challenges and how do you resolve these challenges, and then defining the activities in terms of how are we going to resolve these challenges, what activities do we need to partake in, and then you need resources. What resources are going to be required for us to implement this strategy? And then you need implementation. If you don't have any of those things, you don't have a strategy. You probably have a dream. You probably don't even have a plan. You probably just have a dream. You need resources allocated, and then you need to actually implement this resource allocation for you to have a strategy.
And then where or how does PR come into the picture? And what is PR? Public relations.
So I can give you the difference between advertising and PR, because a lot of people ask that.
What is the difference between advertising and PR?
So you can picture a lady is sitting there with her friends. One of the ladies went on overshades, and that lady is interested in you. And so she asks her friend. So you can call her Ntabiseng is the lady that you asked out, and the friend is Thando. So advertising is when Zbu says to Ntabiseng, I'm handsome, I am successful, and I am fun. That's advertising. Public relations is when Thando says to Ntabiseng, oh, have you seen DJ Zbu? Yo, those dreadlocks, he's so handsome. He's so fun. He's got a great personality. He's such a successful guy. And he's such a kind-hearted guy. That is public relations. It's when somebody else says something about your product. Usually we define it as positive, but it can also be negative. So that would be negative PR and positive PR. But ordinarily we would say it's positive. So it's positive reinforcements by a third party. Advertising is a positive reinforcement from the first party. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way of explaining it. I love how you simplified it.
Yeah. So that's PR advertising. What is PR? PR is all about developing strategic relationships and maintaining them. Anything that you need to do to develop and maintain a strategic relationship, that is public relations. You will find that a lot of these things overlap. Branding, promotions, PR, they overlap a little bit, but it's not the same thing. Advertising is where you develop the story of the organization and then you tell your story directly. You have direct marketing, which is going directly to the customer with the story of the organization. And so PR usually, why it's PR, why it's Tando saying it to Ntabiseng and not Zbu saying it to Ntabiseng, is because usually we go through an intermediary, which is the media. It used to be traditional media. And the media, so we would send the media statement or release.
Now those are the tools, right?
Those are the tools.
To perform these things we're talking about. So we're using these tools.
These tools.
Yeah.
Now in between, there's an intermediary. With advertising, there's no intermediary. I'm going directly to you and telling you what we offer. With PR, I go through the media. Then the media says something about our launch, for an example. And so on social media, if we do a gig together and people are like, oh, Spoo, you were so inspiring, that's PR. But if I say, ooh, yeah, I was inspiring, that's it sounds ridiculous when I say it. I'm not ridiculing advertising. It's very powerful. But that's the difference between advertising.
So that's
PR.
why PR a lot of the times would be important, as people would put it in words like the best form of marketing is word of mouth. It means other people are doing it on your behalf. That's PR.
Yeah. So the best, not the best, the most impactful.
The most impactful.
But they say the best.
My friends are telling me that this is dope. So this is not Smooth telling me, but this is third parties telling me. So that's PR.
And what is that? That's credibility. So in the subconscious, what we say is that the third party has nothing to gain. I have a lot to gain by saying I'm the best. But the third party has very little to gain unless they're getting a commission. And then they say, you are the best. That's why brand endorsements are so powerful. That's why if you say, Emana, you should work with this guy, Spanali Demand, PR, marketing, it's more powerful than if I send an email saying,
Now, all of these things culminate into these tools that you're talking about. And some of these tools, in our modern day language in 2024, social media.
Yeah. Woo. So now that's
because now we are using all of this entire ecosystem to drive to this funnel of, which will be the next conversation I'm going to get into, sales, the most important part, the bottom line. Because we're doing all of this to drive to this so we can get a outcome, which obviously desirably we want it to be positive.
Yes. So now social media is now a medium, as you've said. Correct. But it's a social medium, right? Which means that there's a two-way communication. So the main difference between traditional media and social media is traditional media is mostly one way. It becomes two-way when maybe I'm not happy with what you said and I go to the BCCSA or something like that. But ordinarily it's one way. Social media is two-way. So I get feedback immediately. So if I put a product out there, I'll get feedback immediately about whether people like the advert or they like the people who are acting in the advert or they like the product. I'll get it right there. And sometimes if my customer service is not that good, people will go on social media and complain about what I've done. Now. And that impacts your reputation. And so what is so we need to know what is the bottom line. I mean, what are we trying to achieve? It's credibility, it's trust. That is at a surface level. I'll call it at a surface level. Deep down, you really want to build a brand of endearment.
Integrity.
Respect.
And all these positive.
Respect, integrity, but endearment.
I get you.
So people fall in love with your brand.
So it's not only about the sales, because other campaigns, they're not necessarily driving the sales,
Yeah.
but they're driving their reputational, what is this?
Their reputation.
Yeah, I get you. Long term, right?
Long term. So now, if we're talking about soil, so you'll treat the soil first. Make sure that it's fertile. That's PR. That's what a lot of these things are doing. Branding. We're making it fertile. You then put the product, which is the seed, into the soil. So it's prepared already. And then when the soil rises and it has fruits, that's where the sale happens. Right? But you need to water it. You know, that could be promotion. It could be an advertisement. It helps it to grow. You know? And then that could also be research and development. All of the things that you do, you're watering this plant. When you put the brand out there, when you research and development, when you create new, more fire products, when you are improving your products and becoming more innovative, you're watering this tree. So that when the fruit comes down, that fruit is more attractive than the fruit next door. You see what I'm saying? So all of these things interplay. But yes, the bottom line is important. But I think also value is probably one of the most important things that you can produce in business. A mutually beneficial level of value. And so it's not just about the fact that I went to you and I sold you a product and you bought it. And then that's the end of it. I think what we're missing, a lot of us, especially with small businesses, is customer experience.
Customer experience.
People need to design customer experience.
Like when we throw in things like boutique, because it's me giving you guys something to talk about when you're experiencing the product.
Absolutely.
And me giving you all these fancy names, so that when you're experiencing the product, apart from the flavor, it's conversational. What does it stand for? How does it taste like? How does it make you feel?
Brilliant.
What you experience when you touch it, when you feel it.
That's it.
When it's next to you. I get you.
But also, when I visit a shop, the availability of your book or your product, it's a part of customer experience. Some people will go to another bookshop if they don't find it this side.
Yeah,
Some
but
people say, ayikho. Then you forget about it. But obviously you want to get into the consumer's consciousness, which we'll talk about. But you must know that you may not remain in the consumer's consciousness for long. And we must talk about advertising too, because a lot of people don't understand what is an advertisement about. And where is the place for negative publicity? We must talk about those things too. Because the purpose of an advertisement is that you want to be remembered. Negatively or positively. That's the secret. Now, the amount of negativity, you must be careful. Because if you're a new brand, as you've said it brilliantly. If you're a new brand, it's like a new tree. You're still a small tree. Someone, and then that's the end of you. But if you're a big baobab tree, someone can kick you and you stand still. You can handle negativity. So you must be careful about that. But you want to be remembered. It could work if it's negative, and it can work if it's positive. So essentially, we want to build mutually beneficial relationships. We want to impact your life positively. And you also impact our brand positively. That is through how you are going to buy into our products and services. And so it should never. So what we say is that the greatest relationships have a start date, but they don't have an end date. Because they last forever.
I like that. The greatest relationships have got a start date.
But they don't have an end date.
But they don't have an end date because they last forever. That's brilliant.
Your impact is going to last forever, by the way. I want to say it on camera. And I also want to say, and I know this is embarrassing for you, don't like this. The amount of impact that you've made on so many people's lives, you don't talk about it. When we started Read a Book Essay in 2012, let me tell you, I'll even tell you about Ditshego Media, 2011. My mother loves me and I love my mother. But she wanted me to get a job. And it's because she wanted the best for me. All my other family members, my father believed in me, but a lot of my family members didn't believe in what I was doing. You had not met me for one day, but you saw a brilliant idea. read a book essay, and you promoted it for such a long time. I was shocked as to what is the driving force for you to do something that is not going to benefit you monetarily in the short term. Probably not even in the long term. But you did that. You did something that we would struggle to find from even our closest family members. And now it's the biggest book club in Africa. And from that, we've given birth to so many other organizations that are now well known because of the impact of people like you. I was listed on Forbes magazine, we can go the whole day. All the presidents I met across the globe. Motho ke motho ka batho. Now, the people that you have developed, the people that you have impacted, you have shown that botho. You've shown that obaiditsa batho. And so I wanted to thank you for the impact that you have made. You've got a brand of endearment. People love your brand. SLEF, Leadership 2020, all of the initiatives that you've started, all of the people that you've impacted across the country. I don't want you to become an unsung hero or someone who is misunderstood. You have helped to build some of the biggest brands in this country. And for that, I think we must give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
I'd stand up. If the mic wasn't so low, I'd give you a standing ovation. You've done great work, man, and you deserve the flowers. And I wish you all the best for 2024 and moving forward. And I'm looking forward to working with you moving forward.
I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of everything you've achieved. I'm proud of what we did with the Read a Book essay, and I'm humbled. When you invited me to be one of the founders, to be on the board, etc.
Yeah.
And now it's the biggest reading movement in the continent. And I remember at the time we coined a phrase, intellectual swag. You remember that?
It's cool to be intelligent.
That we wanted to make it cool to read.
Yes.
To be intelligent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm proud of you because you were consistent in that, but it also manifested in your life.
Yes. And you then launched a book.
Yeah, that was my first book, actually.
Second book, third book.
Actually, if you guys go to my first book, you'll see the logo, the Read a Book essay. I think even the second book as well. Yeah,
it's there because it's a part of what you do.
Yeah,
you spread a culture of reading, but it goes back to what we were saying, and we'll talk macroeconomics, but we need to invest in research and development. We need to invest in knowledge development. We're tired. I mean, when I'm doing a research paper, I want to quote Dlamini. I want to quote Kuzwayo. I want to quote our people in our research papers. It should show that we are contributing to knowledge development. I mean, our people, I wonder if they know that the same Pythagoras that you're learning about in high school, the Pythagorean theorem, the same Pythagoras was educated by black people in ancient Egypt. But they don't teach that in the schools. They teach the theorem that was developed thousands of years before Pythagoras was born. Pythagoras never said it's his theorem. He just went back to Greece to teach it. And he didn't even finish school in ancient Egypt. He only did 23 years. Education in ancient Egypt went up to 40 years of education. And a part of it was spirituality. You don't go to the next standard until we know that spiritually you are fed. It was mind, body, and soul. Ancient Egyptian education. And so it's the things that we don't know. I mean, literacy, writing, the art of writing comes from Africa. Architecture, science, mathematics, we stand on the shoulders of ancient Egyptians and other ancient civilizations, but we don't learn about it in schools. And so that intellectual swag that you're talking about, the research and development that we need, the academic theory that we need to contribute to, the knowledge we need to develop, is something that is what's going to revolutionize our nation. This thing of being ignorant and pulling your black brothers and sisters down and trying to stamp your authority and use these Machiavellian tactics to show people how powerful you are, not caring about your people, being worse than the worst oppressors that we've ever seen. Someone who looks like you, going and out in the corporate world. That's based on ignorance. That's ignorance. We need people who have real knowledge, not just data. A bunch of data about Machiavelli, someone who was there in the 16th century or the 15th century. And then you apply his theorems in Africa. Now, he was Italian. You're going to apply it in the southern tip of Africa in 2024. Are you okay? Are you okay? So these are the things that we need to discourage. You come there in the corporate world with that mentality of trying to destroy people. That's not how you build a nation. And so we must go back to our roots. We must redevelop our education system. Teach people proper history, proper mathematics. Teach people about their culture. What is Ubuntu? What is the real definition of Ubuntu? Which for me it means the essence of existence is relationships. The essence of your existence. Look at this microphone. It can't stand there without the table. The table is not going to stand there without what is below the table. You look at a door handle, the hinges of the door hold the door. The door handle has a relationship with the door. All of these have a relationship with gravity. Everything, the essence of existence is in relationships. Even if you look at the human anatomy, what is connected to your eyes? What is connected to your tongue? What is connected to your nerves and your nervous system? What is connected to your arteries? We don't have knowledge of self. And so we must have knowledge of... We just unpacked Ubuntu. We didn't even talk about the fact that in any sub-Saharan African language, there's no he or she. When you say he is intelligent, it's the same as she is intelligent. Now we're talking about gender neutrality. In 2024, something we resolved thousands of years ago. Till this day.
So what does Penuel say? Ak.
Something we resolved thousands of years ago. But we're not even aware. When you say, talk about me, Tebogo, and say, no, she's coming later. To you, that's the same thing as he. Because in your culture, there's no he or she. And talk about gender equality. We've done it systematically in our culture. Language is the mirror of your culture.
Now, when a client comes to you and says, I want to do this, let me not even talk about campaigns. Let's talk about something urgent. A client is going through the most. Say that client is Dr. Matthew. Everyone is dragging me online. People are misunderstanding me. People are saying I'm a criminal. Like a client is going and they're looking for something called damage control. What do you first do when you get such a client?
So crisis communication.
Crisis communication.
That is the risk management of public relations. You want to prevent it before it happens. So usually, it starts as an issue before it becomes a crisis. How you deal with the issue determines whether or not it's going to evolve as a crisis, more often than not. There are times where the issue is so hot that even if you deal with it the right way, it still turns into a crisis. But there are instances where it just starts off as an issue and then it turns into a crisis. But where does the issue start? If it's a genuine issue, there are some people who are falsely accused of things. But let's talk about genuine issues. When you understand what is a brand, your behavior will be aligned to your goals. And so you will prevent behavior that will compromise your goals. There was a conversation we had privately, which I won't talk about in detail, but I was talking about your discipline when it comes to women. And you spoke about how you make sure that you know that you don't want to put yourself in a compromising position. It's not even, you're not going to do compromising things. You are not going to put yourself in a position to be compromised. That is a great way to prevent. So if you're not at the scene, then you didn't do the crime. Simple as that. Especially the ones that you're being falsely accused of. And so if you understand what is a brand, you'll make sure that your actions are aligned to your objectives. You can't be doing bad things and expecting good results. However, there are instances where you've made a mistake. You started a business when you were young. You didn't maybe submit your tax returns on time, and then you do shortcuts and then it catches up to you. That's fine, as long as you can atone for what you have done. You made a mistake, atone, apologize, and move on. So there are people in our industry who often say that apologizing for something that you did that is wrong is the quickest way to end the crisis. The minute you start saying, no, I didn't do it, when it looks like you did it now, based on what, and you know deep down you did it, but you want to go and say no, and you want to act like you're smarter than everybody else. When the truth comes out, it's going to hurt your brand. So you'd rather say, oh, I made a mistake, or explain the situation, you know. And sometimes we can tell that it's going to come. We look at your brand, we analyze your brand, and we do something called a brand audit. You declare, we got client confidentiality. You declare to us, okay, these are the things that I think are going to compromise us. Then we ask you questions. You give us honest answers, and we say, sort that out. Sort that out now before it blows up in your face. That is the risk management side. But let's say you've already done it. And so let's say there's something wrong that you did. Maybe you did something, there's an insensitive campaign. You need to look at it and see whether it's a misunderstanding or it's a mistake. And that you need to correct it if it's a mistake. You need to clarify it if it's a misunderstanding. And so usually we will set out scenario planning in crisis communication around all the scenarios that we can see could happen. And how are we going to respond in those scenarios? And then there are those that are unforeseen. The key to that is, if you are in it, you shouldn't be the one who resolves it. Because emotionally, you won't be in a psychological position to advise yourself. So you're being dragged online, okay, bring it to our attention, which is what all of our clients do, bring it to our attention. It's almost like a psychological process also. Sometimes you think you're being dragged, but it's just 10 people who said something negative. And if you entertain it, it's going to blow up even more. So then you do a cost-benefit analysis as a part of your crisis communication strategy. And so what would happen is you'd approach us, then we would scan the environment, look at the scenario, get as much information as possible from you. Then we'll look at the information that is being presented before you. Then we'll do a cost-benefit analysis in terms of, is this worth a response at this stage? And if it escalates, will it be worth a response? And if it escalates even higher, will it be worth a response? What will be the response? And you have to be strategic in all aspects. So sometimes someone will accuse you of something, and that thing is so bad that the language, if you use the wrong language in the media release, you're going to put, petrol on the fire.
Petrol onto the fire.
Yeah, because now you're going to promote what they're saying about you.
Yeah.
And they're doing negative advertising towards you.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to use diplomatic wording that is not sensational so that you can calm the situation down.
It's beautiful. I mean, I have not even started on your career. Some of the things that I would like for us to talk about for this conversation to kick off the year. For a lot of young professionals, a lot of guys that are getting into varsity, a lot of guys that are starting work, I think this episode for now, this is enough. Okay. I really would like for us to have a beautiful part 2. I have not even touched on your career, and there's a lot of things I'd like for us to talk about. But for now, I think I'd like for our young people out there, our young professionals, to just go and digest. I'd call this episode a masterclass.
Yeah.
It's a mini, semi-branding masterclass.
Yes.
And I loved it. Well done. This was beautiful, my brother.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored. Well done on all of your successes in the past. All the best to your future successes. The last thing that I'll say is, let's not allow our memories to be greater than our dreams. It's one thing to dream about it, but it's another to be about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tebogo Ditshego, MBA. You best get it right. And I want to give a big shout out to your brother, because I remember back in the day, before I had registered for my MBA, your brother used to be on our case.
Yeah.
Mr. Ditshego Senior.
Tebogo Ditshego.
Tebogo Ditshego.
Yeah.
He used to talk about his MBA like crazy. He was like, this guy.
He did it before me.
Yeah, I remember back then. And shout out to him, man. How is he doing?
He's doing great. He's got 2 kids that I want to shout out. Anaya and Serati,
Yeah.
his wife Lerato. So they're building a beautiful family. He's got his business and consultation that he's doing. He's got a beautiful house there in Waterfall. He's not going to be, maybe he might not be happy that I mentioned it, but he's doing well.
That's nice. And the other time I know it was off camera, and I'm gonna ask you again now.
Yes.
Aren't these ladies giving you a problem because you're single? And how are you handling it? Because that's how the conversation came of how I've handled women in my career, and
let me
that's the
check.
advice I shared
Let me
with
check. Before I answer, Naledi, come this side.
you.
What's
Please
that,
make sure she doesn't fall there.
So in terms of, I wanted to sit next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in terms of the ladies,
Yeah.
I've had to be very careful.
No, you can come join us. Come join us. Yeah.
Yeah,
Make
please.
yourself at home.
Yeah.
Make yourself at home.
So let me introduce her. She's Naledi Sikwane.
Yes. You can say hi to the people. Which camera?
Hello.
Over there.
Come
right?
closer. Come closer.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, she's our graphic designer, multiple employee of the year at Ditshego Media. She's now our creative director. We got her straight from tertiary. She was studying at Vega. I'm going to brag a little bit. We also gave her a bursary to do a postgraduate, and she's a dream employee.
Wow.
Actually, she's no longer an employee. She's a partner of the business and contributed to our success. And what I spoke about, becoming more complex, not just writing media releases, but doing graphic designs, doing animations, telling the story in a way that attracts the attention that is required and connects to the audience. So she's been amazing. And congratulations. She's Prism Award Graphic Designer of the Year. You had Podcast of the Year at the Prism Awards.
Yes, sir. Dumelang le kae? Le nna ke teng. Introduce yourself to the public. Yeah.
Sure, wow. My name
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
Come closer.
Okay, so my name is Naledi Sikwane, and as Mr. Ditshego has said, I'm the creative director at Ditshego Media. And I am from a very small village in Mafikeng in the northwest. I'm from a very small family, and I love design, I love creating and just helping brands grow. That's just my passion.
What have been some of the most memorable highlights of being at Ditshego Media?
Wow.
And some of the campaigns that you guys have done?
Sure. I think when I started, really, I was fresh from varsity, and I think for me, the greatest opportunity that was provided for me was really to help the company grow. I think for me, that is one of the biggest accomplishments for myself, helping a very small company grow and seeing it work with so many great brands and some of the, I think for me, it's just that really helping the company grow and to see where it is right now. Yes, that's.
And maybe in closing it off, what would you like to say to our young people right now that are getting to varsity? It's the beginning of the year now. It's just that year where everybody's thinking about their future, about their lives, etc.
I think for me, really, I would. Sure, okay.
Which camera? Oh, that camera. Okay, cool.
I think what I would say to them is that really don't stop dreaming, and make sure that that you keep pushing. I think for me that's really it. And also for me, I'm a believer of, I'm very spiritual. So I think seeking God in everything that you do, I think that is really important, and really asking Him for what His will is for your life. I think for me that's really what I would ask them to do, seeking the will of God for your life and dreaming big.
And what would you like to say to Mr. Ditshego as we're wrapping it up? On camera, on the spot.
Sure, wow. Really, thank you for the opportunities, I think, and also just pushing me.
It's a pleasure.
And also seeing potential and helping me, also seeing that in myself, and all the opportunities that you've provided for me. Thank you so very much.
And thank you for what you've done for our company, helping it to grow in leaps and bounds. So when she joined the company, I was still young. I wasn't the perfect leader, but she was very patient, and I learned. A lot of the learning came through working with her and her giving me feedback later and saying, I didn't like how you spoke to me there, and I'm learning, as time goes on. We still make mistakes even now, but we've learned from what we've done in the past. And so that opportunity to lead you, it's been a great honor to lead you.
Thank you so
and
much.
and to also seeing you lead other people and mentor other people. So what I would like to say is that our greatest successes is not what we have achieved as individuals. It's what we have helped other people to achieve. So this is one of the greatest things I've ever done in terms of, as our creative director, one of the greatest things that I've done is providing that opportunity, watching her blossom. And it wasn't that difficult. She was brought up very well. She's from a great family. She's got great discipline. A lot of young people can learn a lot from her grace, how she's used her talent, her discipline, but also her sacrifice. These are the people, DJs, who are willing to sacrifice. Sometimes you sacrifice things that you never thought you would sacrifice. But you are there because you believe in the vision. And so when things are not looking good in the short term, you need to be motivated by your goals in the long term. In terms of the ladies, DJs, I've been very, very disciplined when it comes to that. Very, very careful. Yes, they do bother me. There was a time when you helped me to become Mzanzi's sexiest man. And I can see Naledi doesn't agree with that. But
What do you mean?
I'm just joking.
Maybe because you're not an entertainer.
So it brought a lot of attention, But what I can say is, what's important is we are who we are today because of the choices we made yesterday, and we'll become who we are tomorrow because of the choices that we make today. So I'm not married yet, and I'm not going to say much about that. I'm not on Tinder either, but we'll see what happens in the future.
All right. So you're focusing on building the dream.
Absolutely.
Proud of you, my sister.
Thank you
What's
so
your
much.
LinkedIn for the professionals that would like to get in touch with you?
On LinkedIn, my name is Naledi Sigwani. Yes, just LinkedIn.
Yeah, let's leave it on LinkedIn.
Yes.
That's why I get LinkedIn, because we're keeping it professional.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Because on Facebook. Like the kids. Instagram.
No. I think LinkedIn is fine.
Go download your LinkedIn and understand what LinkedIn is about. Very
Yes.
proud of you.
Thank you so very much.
Thank
for
you
the
so much, my sister, and congratulations to you guys.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to see you guys grow. I was there in the beginning when he was starting his company. He told me of everything he wanted to achieve, everything he wanted to do over 10 years ago. To see you guys become who you've become, and to see your staff, the people that you guys lead, I'm always proud, and congratulations. May God keep on blessing you, and may you guys achieve more abundance and to great health and wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you.
very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys. I love you so much. I'll see you guys on the next video. And we definitely are going to have another episode with him. And we're going to have another one with her.
Absolutely. Yeah. Need to drop some gems.
Love you guys. Have a great one. Last
Cheers.
words?
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year. Dream big.
Yeah.
Let's keep pushing.
Tebza, last words?
Yeah, let my well wishes to you is that I hope the sacrifices that you made in 2023 are going to be justified by the success you achieve in 2024.
I love you guys very much. This has been an incredible sit down with my brother, with my sister. I have not seen Tebogo in quite some time. Last time I saw him, I bumped into him in Santon City. I think I was from the gym or something.
Yeah.
And we were meant to do this, but it ended up not happening the week after. And I think that's already 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I'm glad finally it happened. And at the right time,
Yeah.
at the beginning of 2024, where a lot of people I know a lot of people are going to appreciate this knowledge. And thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys on the next video. Dango!